Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start this edition with pictures of the rover on the moon. It's actually roving, ladies and gentlemen. ISRO has put out the pictures of the Pragyan rover coming out of the Vikram lander, and has also confirmed, they have confirmed that the rover has successfully traversed a distance of about 8 meters. Rover payloads, LIBS and APX are turned on, and all payloads on the propulsion module, lander module and rover are performing nominally. So great news as we see these pictures and also the video of the rover coming down slowly and then landing or roving on the moon surface, if you can say that. So fantastic achievement by our scientists, and it continues on for 14 Earth days, which is equal to 1 lunar day. So 2.5 days so far, and there should be many more pictures coming through. Meanwhile, there's a big revelation that's come in from Union Minister Piyush Goyal based on the Chandrayaan landing, the soft landing on the moon in just the second attempt by ISRO and by India. There are nations which are now queuing up to engage with India on space technology and trade in the space sector. 3 nations already, 2 nations from the southeast of Asia and 1 nation from the Middle East have shown keen interest, with one of them saying, put it on the agenda when we meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and our Prime Minister meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G20 summit itself. They want it time bound. That's the word that we are getting. So look at what that soft landing has done for Bharat amidst the G20 nations itself, the 36 nations. There are others too who are shown keen inclination to partner with India. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi from the BRICS summit was en route, and he's gone to Greece, where he's met with the President and the Prime Minister of Greece, and he's also been conferred the top honor in Greece, the honor of the Grand Cross of the Order, honor conferred by the Greek President earlier in the day. What a proud moment for Bharat, and of course one of the many awards that nations are conferring upon our Prime Minister. So these are the important aspects, that highlights that we'd like to share with you right at the top of this edition of The Right Stand, as we now turn the spotlight to that standoff which the Prime Minister openly spoke about and told the CCP-led China that they need to back off. This engagement is important. Going back to the status quo of April 2020 is something that India will not compromise upon.
लद्दाख एक स्ट्रेटेजिक जगह है, ये सरासर झूठ है। लद्दाख का हर व्यक्ति इस बात को जानता है कि लद्दाख की जमीन चाइना ने हिंदुस्तान से ली है, और प्रधानमंत्री जी सच नहीं बोल रहे।
हम चीनी राष्ट्रपति के पीछे पीछे भाग रहे हैं कि हमें बात कर लो, हमसे बात कर लो, मामला सुलझा लो, और वे सुलझा नहीं रहे। तो नुकसान हमारा है, क्योंकि इस वक्त चीन हमारी जमीन पे बैठा हुआ है। चीन से 2 टूक बात करनी चाहिए, वरना G20 के अंदर चीन के आगे रेड कारपेट हमें नहीं बिछाना चाहिए।
आखिर क्यों प्रधानमंत्री चाइनीज प्रेसिडेंट के पीछे भाग रहे हैं बातचीत के लिए? आखिर क्यों देश के प्रधानमंत्री देश को अंधेरे में रख रहे हैं कि लद्दाख बॉर्डर पर क्या हो रहा है? नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार हमारी बहादुर फौज पर ये प्रेशर डाल रही है कि कोई सोल्यूशन को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया जाए।
राहुल गांधी जी को बार बार चीन की बातों पर इतना प्यार क्यों उमड़ आता है? ये राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन को मिले हुए दान का एहसान है, या चीन की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी के साथ हुए करार का इकरार है कि बार बार वो भारत सरकार से तकरार करने को तैयार है?
Question, ladies and gentlemen, was it Prime Minister Narendra Modi said not a blade of grass grows there when Aksai Chin was given away? So there is a history to this. There are voices who are talking about land grabbed by China. Were those voices mute all this while? Did they look the other way? When territory that belonged to India, sovereign territory, was ceded by our nation at different times in the 75 years of our independence. So these questions remain even as there is politics over the versions that emerged after the conversation between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. While India's statement said that they have made it clear to China that they must respect the line of actual control, China conveniently omitted the de-escalation bit in its statement, but it did not deny India's statement at all. So this is important. Have a look at this. Candid talks, in-depth exchange held is what China said. They didn't say much, but India said PM Modi raised the concerns about the border. So Foreign Secretary Kawatra made this statement very clearly in the briefing that the LAC issue was raised. Improved relations serves common interest. PM raised unresolved issues among the LAC. So very clearly India is saying we are going to continue to raise this. Observing, respecting LAC is essential, says India, should handle the border issue properly. So there is a mention of the border issue, which is indicative of the Chinese intent also to de-escalate, and we'll come to that in just a bit. Meanwhile, China said jointly safeguard peace, tranquility in the border region, no mention of de-escalation at the line of actual control. India's statement, no normal ties until the border situation is resolved. Interestingly, ladies and gentlemen, both sides are saying border and not the line of actual control. So this is something which a lot of people have also picked, because our LAC is largely with Tibet, which is occupied territory by China. That's what our stated position has been. China, what numbers say is the 4,056 kilometer long LAC, China has gradually reduced that narrative over the last 7.5 decades to a 2,000 kilometer long border. So 2,056 kilometers of the LAC, China now claims as its own. Now, how is that possible? Is that something which has happened in the last 9 years? Or is that happening? Has that been happening since 1949, ever since the Communist Party came to power in China and the PLA took over and Mao Zedong laid out the footprint or the blueprint for the CCP over the next 100 years? So where do things stand as of now when it comes to the LAC standoff? Let's try and get a quick check of that. Pangong So, disengagement complete. Galwan, disengagement complete. Gogra, disengagement has already begun. Hot Springs, disengagement has begun. Depsang, still no headway. Demchok, still no headway. Please understand, ladies and gentlemen, if you pick up the map and you will see why Depsang and Demchok are so important for the PLA and the CCP. It's because they have invested heavily in OBOR, their Belt and Road initiative, and they want to secure these lands. And this was all part of the five-finger strategy and carving out, which has been laid down by Mao Zedong way back in 1949. Go back and see successive premiers have worked on this agenda, except for about 15 to 20 years when China was focusing on becoming economically strong. And then they came back to this, and President Xi Jinping is keen to walk on the same line as Mao Zedong. Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping's informal meet has also sparked a face-off back home. Rahul Gandhi's charge. Under NDA, 1,200 kilometers of land has been ceded to China. That's the big charge that the Congress has maintained. They have maintained over the last 3 to 4 years. And BJP's counter, Congress surrendered 43,000 kilometers of land to China. Rahul Gandhi's charge is center giving false statement on the China issue. 600 Chinese incursions between 2010 to 2013 is the BJP's counter. PM's claim not an inch of land lost is false. China intruded land till 2012 during the Congress era. Ladakhis know that China has taken our land. Rahul speaking like China's propaganda machinery. NDA won't admit China is preparing for war. Not Nehru's India of 1962. It's Modi's Naya Bharat. That's the counter that's come forth from the BJP. But is there land that's been ceded? And what's been ceded? Has it been taken back? What's the history to it? What Defence Minister A.K. Antony said in the Lok Sabha on the 6th of September 2013. Let's jog our memories. China's infrastructure development is superior to India. This is our former Defence Minister. The policy followed. The best defense is to not develop the border. Undeveloped borders are safer than developed borders, because What if the PLA walks in and sadak bani hui hai to aage andar aa gaye? Look at the defeatist mentality, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. The nation's defense minister, this is what he had to say. For many years, no roads or airfields built in border areas. China continued to develop infrastructure in border areas, and we continue to watch over 6.5 decades. Infra and capability wise in border areas, China is way ahead. Why did we allow them to get way ahead? In the last 20 to 25 years, governments realized mistake and they've changed policy. But how much of it was actually done in the last 9 years? That's the big question. Let's compare the infrastructure development on the border areas. Under the NDA and the UPA rule, let's try and quickly get you the numbers. Have a look at this. We're firing it out right there on the wall right behind me on the right stand. And you decide who's taken the right stand for Bharat. Under UPA, troop deployment was mostly seasonal. Under NDA, troop deployment is now permanent. Again, policy for decades not to develop major infrastructure push in the border areas that has already happened. For decades, no roads were built. String of roads and connectivity projects that are currently underway already. For decades, no airfields were constructed. Now, new fighting air bases and helipads have been built near the LAC, roads, bridges, lots of infrastructure, advanced airborne platforms, drones, fighter jets. Under the NDA, under the UP advanced weapon development that began very, very late. So all these aspects come to the fore. Did the UPA almost surrender Siachen too? That's another question. Let's look back at history and look at the data. Here is what 3 damning admissions that they point out to. WikiLeaks cable cited then US ambassador claiming UPA had decided to give away Siachen despite army's reservations. Shyam Saran's book, the former foreign secretary revealed plan to demilitarize Siachen, which was vetoed by the then NSA M.K. Narayanan. Shyam Saranji is also quoted stating that 640 square kilometers of Indian land was encroached upon between 2010 and 2013 by the PLA. Although in 2013 he denied this, saying that there is no official claim to it, but this is a claim that remains. General J.J. Singh, his claim, the then army chief, confirmed to CNN News 18 that lack of UPA's political will led to India losing territory. Let's go across to our guest joining us this evening. Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP, and George Kurian, political analyst. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. 43,000 square kilometers has been ceded under the Congress, UPA regime, etc., erstwhile regime, is a claim made by the BJP. But does that take away the 1200 kilometer claim made by the Congress party, Shehzad Poonawalla? Have 1200 kilometers been ceded in the last 9 years under the Modi 1 and 2 governments?
Anand, usually I keep my first comments long, but I will give all my time to George Kurian because this should be a debate based on fact. You have come out with a figure of 1200 square kilometers. Some Congress people have said 2000 square kilometers, and therefore I ask and give my time to George Kurian. George Kurian, 3 days ago, when Rahul Ji, MP, was near the Pangongso Lake, he said that some villagers had come to him and said grazing lands which were there formerly with them have been taken over by the Chinese. George, I just want to know the name of one village which has been taken over. Now, don't shift the goalpost. I am asking you very specifically, along the banks of Pangongso, Rahul Gandhi, and it was shown on CNN News 18, said that in villagers have told me that the grazing land has been taken away by Chinese. Please name one village where it has happened.
Anand, a very good evening to my co-panelist Shehzad here and to your audience. Anand, I would need 90 seconds of uninterrupted time to bring some facts on the table for your benefit of your audience. Rahul Gandhi from Ladakh in the Kargil area has said that, PM Modi's claim about not an inch of land has been taken away by the Chinese is not true. Let me bring some facts. We all understand that 19 rounds of talks with China has failed over the last 3.5 years, and status quo ante as in April 2020 not restored for over 3 years. So this is what the Congress party is demanding as of right now. It's also important to note that Indian forces can't patrol 26 out of 65 patrolling points in Depsang Plains near the strategic DBO airstrip and CNN Junction near Damchok. Chinese continue to block Indian soldiers at the Y junction called bottleneck inside our territory. Access to patrolling points 10, 11, 11A, 12, 13 blocked by the Chinese. When will the Indian territory brazenly occupied by the Chinese and vacated by the Chinese army pushback. So I would like to ask Shehzad, before getting back to the name of the village that you want me to disclose, I would request Shehzad to come out clear on this facts that in the last 3.5 years.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Let me address that. Thank you, George. It's clear to the audiences, Anand, that he has not taken the name of the villages where Rahul Gandhi, MP, alleged that people had lost their grazing lands. Now, he has spoken about 26 patrolling points in a report which has come out. George, I will again give you all my time. I won't make my opening comment even now. Can you please tell me, George, that these 26 out of 56 patrolling points that have been lost, where has this report been officially seen by? Don't tell me that it has been published by a news agency. There can be many like NewsClick. I know you will quote some news agency. This news report, which has said that this report exists by some SP and it was presented at some conference. Can you please tell me if you have the official copy of this report on the basis of which you're saying this, point one? And point two, who has authored this report in your in the news-based story that you're talking about?
Shehzad, this is an official report which the Congress party has taken a press conference and come out with. So
no, official report of Congress. No, do you have the copy of the report? Do you have the copy of the report?
I have the news link.
Official report. Okay, now George, just 5 seconds more. You know that news report which has cited this particular report talks about the DGP level conference in which this SP level officer presented this so-called report. Do you think patrolling points are patrolled by police officers or by armed forces and paramilitary forces? If at all such a report has to be given, what does your common sense say who should be authoring this report? An SP level officer or a paramilitary or a military level officer? Let's now... So the second claim you made about the patrolling points, that also falls flat. The first claim made by Rahul Gandhi about villages, that also falls flat. Now let's come to the third point. Rahul Gandhi today said in Kargil, although he should not be talking about Kargil, he said that no communication of mobile phone exists in Kargil. Is that a fact, George Kurian? Because you can find many reports, including Reliance's telecommunication services are available there. Kargil's Kaksar border also has communication of cell phone network. So why did Rahul Gandhi say that there was no cell phone network in Kargil today? And Rahul Gandhi said that Ladakh is of strategic importance. No, George, I understand it might be painful for you to take all the body blows for Rahul Gandhi's statements, but let me also give you one more fact. Rahul Gandhi said Ladakh is of great strategic importance. We agree. Therefore, the people of Ladakh were demanding UT status. It wasn't given. The people of Ladakh got the first central university after 2019 when the 370 was abrogated. The people of Ladakh got roadways projects, power projects that was stuck for 50 years, 30 years, 40 years only after 370 was abrogated. And Mr. George Kurian, let me ask you another thing. That somebody who comes from your state, A.K. Antony, said that the best policy was not to develop infrastructure along the LAC. Today you have the Galwan River Bridge. You have DSDBO upgraded to 70 class road. You have 33 bridges, 9 tunnels including Sela Tunnel. BRO has built 60,000 kilometers of roads, 693 bridges, habitat for 22,000 troops, 2,000 kilometers of highway along the McMahon line, 3 inter-corridor highways in Arunachal Pradesh. Can you tell me 5 infrastructure projects that the UPA government did in its 50-60 years?
Well, Shehzad, I believe that one has to move beyond the rhetoric and protect Bharat Mata, and it is important for I'm really proud that
what the part of what I said was rhetoric.
If the Modi government has done the development with respect to infrastructure, it is an appreciable thing. But having said that, that doesn't take away that.
No, it's Indian a fact. It's not a matter of opinion. It's a fact that it's been done. But why is Rahul Gandhi lying? Why does he lie that villages have been occupied when it's not? Because the village he was in, the JJM mission and the BRO is constructing roads there, the JJM mission has reached there. Why did he lie at the Pangong So Lake? Why does he lie about Kargil? Why do you lie about the patrolling points? And also apart from that,
after an interaction with the locals in the area, that he has come out with a statement. So,
which villages were they from? Which villages were they from? Should Rahul Gandhi disclose which
across the Ladakh area and across Ladakh?
No, across the Ladakh area means what? I mean, you need to be specific. I mean, you're a member of parliament making a claim about national security that the Chinese have intruded into land that belongs to India. So you should tell us which particular village. You should give us the village, the name of the village. Don't you think it's expected of Rahul Gandhi, who's an MP? Well, George, may I ask you another question if you don't mind, George? George, may I ask you another question?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
When was the time that India actually lost land to, the only time that we really lost land to China was when Aksai Chin happened in 1962. And do you know, just before that, in 1951, 52, 53, forget everything else, Nehruji, because you all like to invoke Nehru even on ISRO debates, Nehruji was busy giving rice supplies to China, which was taking over Tibet. Had they not taken over Tibet, today we would have had Tibet on our border, not China. We call it the Indo-Tibetan Police Force. By the way, in 1950, Pandit Nehru wrote to Vijay Lakshmi Pandit saying that, look, we are being offered the UNSC seat, but we shouldn't take it because China will be upset. And he confirmed that in another letter to the Chief Minister in 1955 saying that, look, China is too strong, China is too powerful, we don't need to offend China, we need to be friends with China. Don't you think that's a historic mistake? Because after that, the Congress party entered into an MOU with the Chinese. The Congress party took funds from the Chinese into Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. And at that time, they started surrendering our economic rights. Why were they trying to enter into RCEP, where our trade deficit increased by 33 times? Why did they give up places like...
Okay, yield, Shehzad. Let George Kurian speak. Let George Kurian respond.
Well, Shehzad, you went on about 1962 and so on and so forth. I would like to say, what is stopping the Modi government from, getting back the land that, once that we have ceded to China? What is stopping it? We are the number 3 in terms of economy. We are becoming superpower. We are getting developed. Our borders infrastructure is getting built up and things like that. So if the Indian army is capable, which I'm sure we all believe in, what is stopping the Modi government, which has the full majority in the government? And so what is stopping the Modi government from taking back the land which was given during 1962? What is stopping that? Even along with the status quo ante as of April 2020. Two wrongs don't make a right.
So first of all, you're acknowledging that the land... So first of all, you're acknowledging that the land was actually given up in 1962, not in 2022, not in 2023. Now you're asking us that why isn't the land given up in 1962 being brought back yet, despite it being a majority government. By the way, you would remember, Rajiv Gandhi also had a majority government. But I'm glad you acknowledge that the only person you, as a congressman, think is capable of getting back that land or even having claim and ensuring that claim on that land is established is Narendra Modi. So I'm grateful that you have that confidence in Narendra Modi, but I want to ask you, why doesn't Rahul Gandhi have confidence in the armed forces when the armed forces says not a single inch of land has been given? Why is it that Mr. Rahul Gandhi continues to undermine the armed forces? Is it because of the contract and the MOU you have with the Chinese, where you say that Galwan mein kuch nahi kiya Bharat ki Sena ne, where you question surgical strike, you question Balakot air strike, you try to undermine the armed forces, you say Sena ki pitai ho gayi
not really.
Arunachal Pradesh mein. Is that the ploy?
Well, not really, Shehzad. Rahul Gandhi is not questioning the intent and the and the capability of the Indian Army. We believe that Indian Army is strong enough and capable to.
But you just said that we've lost 1,200 square kilometers.
Well, that is the current situation at this point in time. So because of the Modi government is not showing interest
so did the army fail?
Taking back our lost post.
But did the army fail?
It is the direction from the government that has to be, shown.
So was the direction not given by Nehruji to safeguard Aksai Chin?
Well, somewhere
to safeguard Tia Pangnak, Doomcheli, Jolawat?
There are a lot of questions to which there have been no answers. So let me put one more question to which I hope I'll get an answer. One question to George Kurian and then one question to Shehzad Poonawala. George Kurian, who cares about Ladakh? Not a blade of grass grows there. Ladakh is of strategic importance. Which of these two statements is true?
Well, we know that Ladakh is a strategic importance as far as the border is concerned. So, and we all believe that's a fact.
So that's a fact. So one statement was made by Rahul Gandhi, the other statement was made by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So you're saying that the statement made by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is wrong?
Well, Anand, one has to, come up with time. Things have changed, and I strongly believe that the way the perception and the way we look at the future course of action needs to be taken is also important.
So if that future course of action, sir, why was that future course of action not taken in the 90s? Why was it not taken in the 1970s? Why was it not taken between 2004 and 2014, where it said it's better we don't develop the roads at all, border roads? We started only when we realized, oh my God, what a mistake we made. The other question, now, going back to Shehzad Poonawalla. Shehzad Poonawalla, why is it that since April 2020 to now August 2023, the full process of disengagement has not happened? And by the time that in Demchok and Depsang that the PLA continues to sit on those peaks and doesn't disengage, it has actually increased its abilities in Hotan. It's built a fresh airbase where it can now even land its J-16s in the last 2.5 to 3 years, along with its drones, which have got attack capability or equivalent to the Predators that the Americans have. They have made drone landing sites in those areas and within striking distance of our bases, within striking distance of Kargil, which they did not have. They had to fly 2,500 kilometers to even get any air support, but they have now built air bases in the last 3 years that they have sat in Demchok and Depsang. How are we going to counter this?
Anand, you would bear me out. Anand, you would bear me out on the fact that I just read out a list of things that we have done across the LAC. And of course, I am sure that there are many more things that you would not want me to disclose, especially about our strategic and other interests that we are developing, because I think these are matters that the less said about, the better. But you would be rest assured from various generals and various experts who join you on your panel that India is not sitting back. India is sending all its firepower, all its manpower that it can at the LAC to ensure that not an inch of land is conceded. Point number one. Point number two, these issues of disengagement, etc. Anand, you know that there is no international border between India and China. There is no LOC between India and China. It's actually an LAC, the land of actual control, which means there are differing perceptions. And based on those perceptions, people think that they have intruded or not intruded in certain parts. They also think that we have done that in some parts. We think that they are probably attempting to do that in some parts. And therefore, this process of talking and dialogue to ensure that there is a disengagement from established positions is a continuous process. So I don't think anything should be seen from it. But you should acknowledge the fact that for the first time, we also went on top of the Kailash Hills. We must acknowledge the fact that in Doklam, for the first time, it was the Indian army that challenged the Chinese in Doklam, which is a tri-junction area. But at that time, it was Rahul Gandhi who was seen with the Chinese ambassador. And therefore, the question today is that what we do as a country is one aspect. But when members of our own country are busy taking the Chinese line and Chinese propaganda, shouldn't they be called out, especially when they have no facts to back their claims? Where is the village that
you can call out? I have to wind up, gentlemen.
Have no answer.
It's engaging debate. I have to wind up. There was something in Demchok, sir, which still the PLA, where you're claiming that they're sitting on plates. Demchok has been on their radar for a long, long time. Please go back, viewers, and also to our guests on the panel tonight. There is a Zorawar fort in Demchok. When was it broken down and did the PLA build bunkers? And soon after that, who entered into an engagement of mutual collaboration with the CCP? Please look at the years and then tell me, sir, who's working in the interest or against the interest of Bharat Mata. I wind up the debate on that note. Thank you very, very much, Shehzad Poonawalla and George Kurian. Ladies and gentlemen, moving